My brother used to be the golden boy until he uncovered the truth. Turns out our parents had been lying to him about me for years. Once he found out, he gave me proof. Together, we dismantled their entire legal argument. Growing up, I idolized Caleb. I just wanted mom and dad to love me the way they loved him. While other kids played outside, I stayed in, scrubbing floors and organizing mom's chaotic filing system, anything to be helpful. But it never mattered. Every time, they gave Caleb the credit. "Wow, Caleb, you inspired Alex to do all this," they'd say, and hand him candy or promise a trip. I got a lecture for not doing enough. There's a line that stuck with me. When you tell someone they're bad long enough, they start to believe it. That was me. Caleb always seemed to have something I didn't, something I could never measure up to. So when I earned a scholarship to a local college while still in high school, I was ecstatic. I ran downstairs, beaming, ready to finally hear, "Well done." But instead of congratulations, I got cold fury. My dad exploded. "Are you freaking kidding me?" he yelled. "How could you do this to us?" Mom's eyes filled with tears. Caleb stood silently, arms crossed, glaring. That's when I realized Caleb had applied to the same college and hadn't gotten in. They thought I'd stolen it from him. I stood frozen as they accused me of cheating. "We don't raise cheaters in this house," Dad snapped. I slipped away to my room, door cracked just enough to hear them continue trashing me. Later that night, guilt tore through me. I thought about the nights I studied while Caleb partied. Maybe I should have helped him more. I felt like a horrible brother. I even started wishing I hadn't applied. But that regret didn't last long. A few days later, my guidance counselor called me in. She looked crushed, like she'd made a mistake trusting me. Then she dropped the bomb. Someone had filed a formal plagiarism complaint. There were screenshots, fake, but convincing, alleging I'd stolen my work. I couldn't speak. I just sat there, hollowed out by the betrayal, while she looked at me like I was nothing. I finally stood up and walked out. I still believed I'd earned that opportunity, but it didn't matter anymore. Then my phone buzzed. A message from Dad. "Don't come home." Awesome. I started walking to my godfather Mark's place, somewhere between crushed and furious. When he opened the door with this huge, genuine smile, I almost collapsed. It was the first warmth I'd felt in years. I broke down crying in his arms. He led me inside, sat me down, and I told him everything about the college, the accusations, my parents, Caleb, all of it. Mark didn't say much, just nodded occasionally, but that was enough. I was grateful someone finally listened. I was drained, and before I knew it, I passed out. When I woke up, the sky was pitch black and the house was silent. My phone was dead, so I tiptoed upstairs to borrow Mark's. It lit up in my hand. It wasn't locked, and I saw he'd been texting my parents. I probably shouldn't have read the messages, but I was 17 and curious. At first, they'd fed Mark a story about me being in an emotional rough patch. But after I told him everything, his tone changed. His replies were angry, protective. It was the first time in my life someone had stood up for me, and he wasn't done. The next morning, Mark acted like everything was normal. He made pancakes, slid a plate my way, and said casually, "Alex, I think I know what's going on with that scholarship. And we're going to make it right." I nearly choked on my juice. "They're still looking into the plagiarism thing," he said, sitting across from me. "But the bigger issue here is your folks. And Caleb." Then he dropped something that turned everything on its head. Mark had been watching this unfold for years, the favoritism, the way I was treated. It had always bothered him. He'd even confronted my parents a few times, but they brushed him off. "What they're doing isn't right," he told me. "None of this is your fault." I broke down again. I couldn't help it. Then Mark slid his phone across the table. "There's more," he said. "Caleb called this morning. Said he needed to talk about you. Said it was urgent. He wants to meet at that coffee place downtown. Noon." My stomach twisted. Caleb had never reached out to Mark before. Why now? Mark asked if he should go. Part of me wanted to forget all of it and just move on. But another part, the one finally feeling defended, wanted the truth. "Yeah," I said. "But I'm coming too. I'll hang back. I just want to hear what he says." Mark nodded. "Fair enough. But remember, this cycle with your family? It ends now. One way or another." He couldn't have been more right. And I wasn't ready for what was coming. Because Caleb wasn't planning to show up alone. What we learned that day shattered everything. That morning in Mark's kitchen was a turning point. For years, I'd accepted how I was treated, believed maybe I deserved it. But seeing someone stand beside me, no hesitation, made me question everything I thought was normal. There's something life-changing about having even one person in your corner, especially when you've been alone for so long. As we got ready to meet Caleb, I couldn't stop wondering, was he finally going to apologize? Or was this another setup? I imagined a dozen scenarios, but none came close to what really happened. The scholarship scandal? That was just the tip of the iceberg. One of the hardest truths I've had to face is this: sometimes the deepest pain isn't just the betrayal itself. It's realizing how long you've allowed people to treat you like you don't matter. It didn't just rewrite the story of the scholarship, it changed how I saw myself, where I stood in the world. Mark didn't just give me a place to crash. He gave me something I'd never had before: the strength to stop apologizing for existing, and the courage to finally stand up for the respect I'd been denied my whole life. I got to the coffee shop 15 minutes early and picked a seat in the corner, close enough to watch Caleb come in, far enough that he wouldn't spot me right away. Mark sat near the entrance, sipping his late like this was just a casual meetup, not one of the most intense moments of my life. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. It had been weeks since I'd last seen Caleb, since that awful dinner, and the thought of facing him again turned my stomach. I pulled up my hoodie and pretended to be another guy working on a laptop. Right at noon, Caleb walked in. Of course, always perfectly punctual when it made him look good. He scanned the cafe, spotted Mark, and walked over, his energy weird, jittery, almost nervous. Not like him at all. "Thanks for coming," he said, as darting around like he didn't want to be seen. I couldn't hear every word, but I had a clear view of his face, and it wasn't the smug expression I'd braced for. He looked anxious, off balance. About 10 minutes in, Mark stood up and headed toward the bathroom. As he passed my table, he dropped a napkin next to me. On it, scribbled quickly, "He wants to talk to you. Says it's important. Your call." My heart pounded like a drum. I shut my laptop and walked over. Caleb's eyes widened. "Alex? What the hell?" "Mark said you wanted to talk," I said, sitting across from him. "So talk." He glanced around, leaned in. "You need to let this go," he said. "Just admit you cheated, apologize to Mom and Dad, and move on." I blinked. "Are you serious right now? That's why you brought me here? To get me to lie?" Caleb lowered his voice. "I know it feels unfair, but it's better this way." "Better?" I repeated. "Hampton was always supposed to be mine. You knew that. Your thing," I said, baffled. "I didn't even know you applied until after I got in." "I worked hard for that scholarship," I said, steadying my voice. "I earned it. And someone, probably you, submitted fake evidence to destroy it." His eyes dropped. "It was you, wasn't it?" I asked quietly. He hesitated. "Not exactly. Dad helped." The floor dropped out from under me. I'd suspected, but hearing it confirmed hit different. My own father helped destroy my future. Mark returned and sat beside me, placing a hand on my shoulder. "Well," he said, voice like iron, "this family conversation? I'm part of it now. And I'm very interested in what you just admitted about your father's role." Caleb's face went pale. Mark cut in, calm and direct. "Let's be clear. What your parents did, and what you went along with, is completely unacceptable." He ticked the points off like he was in court: emotional abuse, academic fraud, and potentially criminal activity. Caleb stiffened. "Criminal? Come on, it's just family drama." Mark raised an eyebrow. "Submitting fake documents to sabotage a college scholarship? That's not drama, that's illegal." I watched Caleb squirm, the weight of his actions finally settling in. Caleb wasn't used to being challenged. He looked more like a kid caught stealing cookies than the golden boy who could do no wrong. "What exactly did Dad do?" I asked. Caleb sighed, his whole body deflating. "He took some of your old essays off the family computer, found similar ones online, edited the dates, faked some screenshots." Mark's hand gripped my shoulder. "And your mom?" he asked. "She knew," Caleb said quietly. "But Dad's the one who actually did it." I felt hollow. All those years I blamed myself, thought I wasn't trying hard enough, wasn't lovable enough. And all along, they were sabotaging me. "Why?" I asked, my voice cracking. "Why would you do this to me?" For the first time ever, I saw something real on Caleb's face: shame. "It wasn't supposed to go this far," he said. "When you got the scholarship, Dad snapped. He swore you had to have cheated. I just went along with it. I always go along with it." "Go along with what?" Mark asked. Caleb looked down. "The Alex thing. You know," he gestured vaguely. "The way they treat you. Like you're not really one of us." Mark leaned in. "Be honest, Caleb. Has this favoritism, this sabotage, been going on our whole lives?" Caleb nodded. "Since we were kids. I don't even know why it started." At first, I thought it was cool, extra privileges and all. But it got weird. Weird how? I asked. They'd ask me to spy on you. If you were studying too much or doing well, they'd step in, give you surprise chores, hide your homework. Each word landed like a punch. Suddenly all those coincidences, missing books, late-night chores before big tests, they all made sense. They rewarded me for beating you. But if you outperformed me, they punished you for making me look bad. Mark muttered, Jesus. I didn't get it back then, Caleb said. By middle school, I knew. But by then, it was just the way things were. And you never told me? I asked, heat rising in my chest. I tried, he said. When we were 14, I told Mom it wasn't fair. And she blew up. Said I was ungrateful. That they were just preparing us for real life. Real life? I scoffed. What does that even mean? Caleb shrugged. Something about how there's only one winner. That they were training me to succeed, and you to not. Mark let out a sharp breath. That's seriously messed up. So why now? I asked. Why tell me all this after years of standing by while they tore me down? Caleb shifted. The scholarship thing, that was too far. When they kicked you out, I didn't know it'd get that bad. And when I heard you were staying with Mark. He paused. Mom and Dad started saying stuff. Real twisted stuff. Like you were dead to the family. That we needed to cut out the cancer. The cold way he said it made my blood freeze. They're planning to disown me, I whispered. Caleb nodded. Meeting with a lawyer tomorrow to change the will. And Mom's talking about changing my last name to her maiden name so we don't share anything anymore. Mark sat straighter, pulling out his phone. I'm documenting this. Everything you're saying. No. Caleb's head snapped up, eyes wide. You can't tell them I told you, Caleb whispered. They'll what? I cut in. Treat you the way they've treated me? His silence said everything. Mark slowly set his phone down. Caleb, he said gently, I get that you're scared. But this isn't just family drama. Your parents have psychologically abused Alex for years. And they've dragged you into it. Caleb's eyes filled with tears. I know. I'm sorry. I wanted to rage at him. Some part of me still did. But mostly, I just felt sad. He'd been used to different game, same board. So what now? I asked Mark. Now, he said, we fix this. Starting with your scholarship. How? Dad already sent the fake evidence. Mark gave a tight smile. I've got a contact at Hampton. And unlike your father, I understand digital forensics. That forged junk won't survive scrutiny. A flicker of hope lit up inside me. What about me? Caleb asked. I can't just go home like nothing happened. You can stay with me too, Mark said. I've got another spare room. Caleb stared. Why would you help me? After what I did. Mark shrugged. Because unlike your parents, I don't throw people away. We left the coffee shop with a fragile plan. Mark would contact Hampton. I'd keep staying with him. Caleb would go home, pack, invent some excuse about a group project, and meet us later. I wasn't sure I fully trusted him, but something had changed. For the first time, we were on the same side. Back at Mark's, I helped prep the second guest room while he made calls. I couldn't hear much, but phrases like pattern of abuse and legal documentation told me his focus had widened beyond just school. At 8 p.m., I got a text from Caleb. Dad's watching me pack. Acting suspicious. Might be delayed. An hour passed. Then another. By 11, nothing. I texted again, delivered, but unread. Something's wrong, I told Mark. Give it until morning, he said gently. Your parents are probably hovering after your disappearing act. I tried to sleep, but kept checking my phone. By breakfast, I was convinced they'd figured it out. We need to check on him, I told Mark. He looked torn. If we show up, it might escalate. Or he's in trouble because he tried to help me. Before he could answer, his phone rang. He checked the screen, face going tight. It's Hampton College. I held my breath as he answered, voice calm and professional. The call lasted 10 minutes. When he finally hung up, his face was unreadable. Well, I asked. The good news, he said, is they're reopening the plagiarism case. My shoulders dropped in relief. And the bad news? They found something else. My stomach twisted. What? Another application, Mark said slowly. Filed under your name. Different essays. Different recommendation letters. I blinked. I only submitted one application. Exactly, he said. Someone submitted a second application in your name, Mark said. A weaker one, full of obvious plagiarism. It was designed to sabotage you before your real one could even be reviewed. My parents, I whispered. Sabotage before the decision? They hadn't just doubted me, They'd tried to ruin my chances from the start. The timing fits, Mark said. But here's the twist. The fake application wasn't sent from your home's IP. It came from your high school. My stomach dropped. Caleb. He must have done it from the library. Mark nodded. That's my guess. The good news is my contact at Hampton is documenting everything. They'll reevaluate your original application on its real merits. I should have felt relief. Instead, all I could think about was Caleb. Was this why he never showed up? Had our parents found out he was flipping sides? We need to check on him, I said. Mark hesitated, but after some back and forth, we agreed. We'd drive by the house, try to catch a glimpse of him. Maybe get him alone. As we neared my neighborhood, my nerves were a mess. What if my parents saw me? What if they tried to accuse me of something again? But the second we turned onto the street, all that vanished. A moving truck. What the hell? I whispered. Mark parked a few houses down. We sat there in silence, watching strangers carry out boxes and furniture from my childhood home. They're moving, I said. Without even telling me? Mark frowned. That's extreme even for them. We watched for nearly an hour. My mom directed the movers. My dad hauled some files to the car. But no Caleb. I'm going over there, I said suddenly, already reaching for the door. Mark grabbed my arm. Alex, think this through. They're disappearing on me. And Caleb hasn't answered in a day. Something's wrong. Before he could stop me, I was out of the car, heart pounding, headed toward the house. My mother spotted me first. Her face flickered, shock, then fury, then something almost like fear. What are you doing here? She hissed, grabbing my arm and yanking me around the side of the house. Where's Caleb? I demanded. She didn't answer. You're really moving without telling me? My voice was shaking. All my stuff is still inside. We packed your essentials, she said coolly. Mark can collect them from our lawyer next week. Where's Caleb? I said again, more forcefully. Her eyes shifted. He's staying with a friend. Until we're settled. I didn't believe her for a second. Which friend? That's none of your concern. She glanced over my shoulder and scowled. I see you've turned Mark against us too, she sneered. Always playing the victim. Mark had followed. He stood nearby, arms crossed, voice calm but cutting. Phoebe, we need to talk about what you and Frank have done. Her face hardened. There's nothing to discuss. Oh, really? Mark said. How about sabotaging your son's education? Or raising him in a house where he was constantly belittled and gaslit? She laughed, a dry, brittle sound. Is that what he told you? Per Alex. Always misunderstood. Then her voice dropped silky and cold. Did he mention the substances we found in his room? I froze. What substances? The devil's lettuce and capsules, she said smoothly. In your desk drawer. I stared at her, stunned. I've never touched drugs in my life. But I already knew truth didn't matter to her. Not now. Maybe not ever. The ones Caleb found last month, my mother said smoothly. We were trying to help you, get you into treatment quietly. But then you started acting out with this scholarship nonsense. My head spun. They weren't twisting the truth anymore. They were inventing entire fictions. A version of me that never existed. Mark placed a steady hand on my shoulder. Phoebe, this has gone far enough, he said. We have documentation disproving the plagiarism claims. We know about the fake application submitted in Alex's name. And now you're inventing substance abuse? And abandoning your 17-year-old son? For the first time, my mother faltered. You have no proof, she snapped. Actually, we do. But right now, I care more about Caleb. Where's he really? Her mask cracked. He's fine. He's just processing everything. Let me talk to him. 5 minutes. That's not possible. That's when my father came around the corner. The second he saw me, his face contorted. What is he doing here? He barked. Phoebe, I told you to call the police if he showed up. Frank, Mark said, stepping forward, we're trying to have a civil conversation. You've always undermined our parenting, my father snapped. Always taken Alex's side. He sneered. Well, now he's your problem. He's not a problem, Mark replied. He's a remarkable young man who deserves better. My father's face turned crimson. Get off my property before I call the police. Where's Caleb? I asked again. Gone, he growled. Gone where you can't poison him against us. A chill ran through me. What does that mean? My mother grabbed his arm. Frank, don't. Silence. The movers kept working, unfazed, as our family imploded on the lawn. We've enrolled Caleb at Westfield Academy, my mother said tightly. He left yesterday. Westfield. 3 states away. A notorious boarding school. Harsh discipline. No contact. designed to break down problem teens. You sent him there because he talked to me? I asked, stunned. We sent him because he needs structure, my father snapped. Away from your influence. Mark pulled out his phone. I'm calling him. His phone privileges have been suspended, my mother said smugly. First month. School policy. I could barely breathe. They didn't send Caleb away to help him. They locked him up to isolate him. For daring to question them. This isn't over, Mark said coldly. You've made choices with serious legal consequences. Expect a call from my attorney. He guided me back to the car. I didn't resist. I was numb. They sent Caleb away, I murmured, over and over. Because of me? No, Mark said firmly. They did it because they're losing control. This is not your fault, Alex. Back at Mark's place, we got to work. He contacted a lawyer who specialized in family law. I wrote down everything: years of subtle sabotage, gaslighting, favoritism. A pattern of emotional abuse laid bare in bullet points. Then we turned to Westfield Academy. They have a strict no-contact policy for the first 30 days, I read aloud, to help students detach from negative influences. Mark frowned. Convenient. But there must be exceptions. Not officially, I said. At least, not the kind we can trigger. Maybe not directly, Mark replied. But there are other ways. Over the next week, everything started moving fast. Hampton College officially reinstated my scholarship after reviewing the evidence of tampering. Mark's lawyer friend, Karen, helped me file for legal emancipation since my parents had effectively abandoned me. But the biggest surprise? Several of my teachers came forward. With proof. Ms. Harris, my chemistry teacher, had kept meticulous records. Every time my parents asked her to lower my grades or complained that I was showing off in class. My debate coach had saved emails where they demanded I be given less stage time so I wouldn't overshadow Caleb. It was validating and devastating to see, in black and white, just how calculated their sabotage had been, and to realize how many adults had seen it but hadn't known how to help. Meanwhile, Mark worked on contacting Caleb. The school wouldn't let me speak to him directly, but Mark reached a counselor, raising concerns about the sudden enrollment and the lies our parents had told. 2 weeks after the confrontation at the house, we got a break. A letter arrived. Addressed to me. The handwriting? Caleb's. The return address? Unfamiliar. Inside, a single sheet of notebook paper. Alex. I'm okay. Don't worry. School monitors all comms, but Tyler, my roommate, is sending this through his cousin nearby. Parents told school you abused me growing up. Total lies. They're scared we talked. Teachers here are strict, but decent. Working on a plan. Trust me for once? I read it 3 times. Then a 4th. Caleb was safe. Not free, but safe. And still on my side. Mark scanned it and gave a grim nod. This helps. If Caleb contradicts your parents' story, it's not just your word anymore. Exactly, I said. And with everything else, my teachers, the records. Mark smiled faintly. They overplayed their hand. That night, I slept better than I had in weeks. For the first time, I wasn't just reacting. I was fighting back. And I wasn't alone. What I didn't know was that my parents were making plans of their own. The next morning, Mark shook me awake. Alex. Up. It was 7 a.m. Way too early for good news. He handed me his laptop. On screen, an email from Karen. They're filing a restraining order against me? I asked, stunned. On what grounds? Mark's jaw tightened. They're claiming harassment. That you've threatened them. That they're afraid for their safety. I shot upright. That's complete BS. I haven't talked to them since that day. I know, Mark said. Karen thinks it's preemptive. They're trying to control the story, cut you off before we make more headway. I fell back against the pillow, furious. Just when things had started to feel possible again. And, Mark added darkly, they're accusing me of manipulating you. Saying I've turned you against them. That I have some inappropriate interest. That one made my blood boil. Mark had been the only adult who didn't treat me like a threat or a project. He'd been kind. Steady. Real. So what do we do? I asked. Karen's on it. Their claims won't hold up. We have receipts. But we need to be careful. No contact. Document everything. He squeezed my shoulder. We're not backing down. We need to accelerate our plans with Caleb. Over breakfast, Mark and I mapped out our next moves. The restraining order hearing was set for next week. If granted, it would legally block me from contacting my parents or going near their new house. Exactly what they wanted. Another wall. More control. We need Caleb's side officially documented, Mark said, sipping his coffee. That letter helps, but it's not enough. But how? I asked. We can't contact him directly. Mark smiled faintly. Remember Tyler's cousin, the one who smuggled out Caleb's letter? It's time we send one back. We drafted a careful message. No mention of Westfield. No risks. Just a request. Would Caleb be willing to write a signed statement about our parents? The truth about our childhood. About the scholarship. Mark found a discreet way to route it, through the cousin, so it wouldn't raise red flags. Then we waited. Meanwhile, more puzzle pieces surfaced. Ms. Harris forwarded email showing my dad had asked her to misplace my recommendation letters last year, to sabotage my college apps. My debate coach revealed that my mom once offered to donate equipment if Caleb were made team captain over me, despite my stronger record. Each revelation hit like a knife. I felt vindicated. And sick. All those years I thought I just wasn't good enough. Turns out, they were actively pulling me down. 3 days later, Karen called with huge news. Hampton College not only reinstated my scholarship, they issued a formal apology. Their investigation confirmed the plagiarism was fabricated. They were implementing safeguards to prevent future tampering. One win, Mark said. But we still have the restraining order. And Caleb. That afternoon, I was helping Mark organize documents when the doorbell rang. He answered, in return looking rattled. Someone's here to see you. In the living room sat a lanky teen, nervous, but determined. Tyler. I said, stunned. What are you doing here? He stood quickly. Caleb sent me. Technically, I'm visiting my cousin, but Caleb asked me to stop by. Mark raised an eyebrow. How'd you find this address? Caleb memorized it. Said it was his godfather's place. I sat across from him. Is Caleb okay? He's fine. He wanted me to give you this. Tyler pulled a sealed envelope from his backpack. He said it's really important. For your eyes only. I tore it open. Inside, a USB drive. And a handwritten note. Alex. Everything you need is on this drive. Password is our birthday. I've been keeping records for years, just never had the courage to share. They were hidden in a lockbox under my bed. Mom and Dad never found them. Be careful. They're telling everyone you're dangerous and unstable. They even convinced the school they needed to protect me from you. Caleb. My hand shook as I passed the note to Mark. Records? He asked. Without a word, I plugged the USB into Mark's laptop and typed our shared birthday. The folder opened. Dozens of files. Text documents. Audio recordings. Screenshots. Photos. All meticulously labeled. Organized. Dated. Years of hidden truth finally in the light. What the hell? I whispered, opening file after file. There were recordings, my parents, caught on tape, plotting how to undermine my achievements. Screenshots of text between them conspiring to hide my college applications. Photos of awards and certificates, many mysteriously vanished over the years, saved, it seemed, by Caleb before they could be destroyed. But the most devastating evidence was Caleb's personal journals, going back to when we were 14. He had documented everything in painful detail, the favoritism, the manipulation, how our parents lavished praise on him in front of me but criticized me behind closed doors, how they deliberately set us against each other, rewarding Caleb when he outperformed me, punishing me whenever I outshone him. I didn't want to believe it was intentional for a long time, Caleb wrote at 15. But today, I heard Dad tell Mom they needed to keep Alex in his place because families need a hierarchy. Mom worried it might hurt my feelings, but Dad said, better he learns his place now than thinks he deserves more than he's worth later. I felt sick reading it, and unsure what to do. Mark leaned closer, his face darkening as he absorbed the files. This is extensive. Caleb's been documenting this for years. Why didn't he tell me? I asked, torn between gratitude and betrayal. Tyler, who'd been quietly waiting in the living room, spoke up. He tried to explain it to me. Said he was afraid of losing the only good thing in his life, your parents' approval. By the time he realized how messed up it was, he felt too guilty to come clean. Mark looked at Tyler. Would you be willing to tell a judge what you've seen and heard at school? About Caleb's situation and what his parents have said. Tyler hesitated. I could get in trouble for leaving campus without permission. We can work around that, Mark assured him. Your cousin's visit is legit. We just need your statement, not you in court yet. After some discussion, Tyler's cousin agreed to provide a written statement. He confirmed Caleb's abrupt arrival at Westfield, the false story our parents fed the school painting me as unstable and violent, and that Caleb immediately told his counselor it wasn't true, but the school had to follow the parents' restrictions. Caleb's actually doing okay, Tyler added. Teachers are strict but fair. It's the communication blackout that's the real problem. After Tyler left, promising to deliver a message back to Caleb, Mark and I spent hours combing through the files. The evidence painted a clear pattern of emotional abuse and manipulation that shaped my entire life. This changes everything for the restraining order hearing, Mark said. But we need to be strategic. That evening, Karen came over, and the three of us crafted a plan. Instead of just defending the restraining order, we'd counterattack. File a petition for full emancipation, backed by years of documented abuse. With this, Karen said confidently, we might also secure a court order allowing you to contact Caleb, despite your parents' objections. Since he's still a minor, we can't override their authority entirely, but we can fight for supervised communication rights based on your sibling bond. The day of the hearing arrived sooner than I expected. I was a nervous wreck, knowing I'd face the people who'd systematically torn me down, now trying to legally brand me as the threat. Mark and Karen had prepared me, but nothing could prepare me for the sight of my parents, flanked by a sleek, expensive lawyer. Mom looked conservative, genuinely concerned, for someone supposedly terrified of me. Dad wore his usual stern, disapproving expression. Their lawyer went first, spinning a fabricated tale of my escalating behavior problems. Claims of threats. Stories of substance use. They even produced a small baggie of marijuana, allegedly found in my room before I ran away. When it was her turn, Karen calmly and methodically dismantled their entire narrative. She presented the teacher's documentation, the evidence of scholarship sabotage, Tyler's statement about Caleb's sudden enrollment at Westfield, and most damningly, selections from Caleb's secret files. The look on my parents' faces as the audio recordings played is something I'll never forget. My mom went pale, while my dad's expression shifted from shock to anger, and finally settled into something like fear as he realized how thoroughly their manipulation had been exposed. Their lawyer tried to object, claiming the recordings might be edited or taken out of context, but Karen was ready. She produced metadata and timestamps to authenticate every piece. Your Honor, Karen said, this is not a case of a troubled teen threatening his parents. This is a documented pattern of emotional abuse, culminating in parents abandoning their son, falsifying evidence to revoke his scholarship, and isolating him from his twin brother, who has started to see through and resist the manipulation. The judge was silent for a long moment after hearing all the evidence. He looked at my parents with an expression I couldn't quite read. In my 20 years on the bench, he finally said, I've seen many family disputes, but the level of calculated undermining documented here is extraordinary. He turned to my parents. Your petition for a restraining order is denied. Furthermore, I'm granting temporary emancipation to Alex, pending a full hearing next month, which I expect will become permanent given today's evidence. I sat in stunned silence as he continued, addressing Caleb's situation. Regarding the minor child Caleb, while this court cannot remove him from his current school placement without a separate hearing, I order that he be allowed regular contact with his brother immediately. The school is to be notified that no restrictions on communication between the siblings shall be enforced. My parents looked utterly stunned. Their lawyer began gathering papers, no doubt planning an appeal, but the damage was done. The truth was official. As we left the courtroom, my mom tried to approach me, slipping into a tearful, "We only wanted what's best for you" act. Mark firmly steered me away, and Karen reminded her that any direct contact would violate the court order. 3 months have passed since that day. I'm legally emancipated, living permanently with Mark, who's become more family to me than my biological parents ever were. Hampton College confirmed I'll start this fall with my full scholarship intact. Caleb decided to stay at Westfield Academy through the semester. It turns out he actually likes the structure and is doing well, finally free from our parents' toxic control. We video chat almost every day now, rebuilding our relationship as brothers without the poisonous competition our parents forced on us. As for my parents, they went ahead with their move, apparently telling neighbors they have only one son away at boarding school. Karen says this kind of denial is common when abusers are confronted with evidence. I still have moments of doubt and insecurity. Decades of being told I wasn't enough don't vanish overnight. But for the first time, I'm not trying to earn love that was never freely given. Yesterday, Caleb told me something that stuck. You know what's weird? I always thought being the favorite was a good thing, but it was just a different kind of trap. He's right. We were both victims of our parents' twisted dynamic, just in different ways. The difference now? We get to decide what happens next. And for once, neither of us is competing for a prize that was never worth winning.